All right, welcome back to the third video in our business credit playbook series. The first two videos, we went all out talking about everything that you need regarding just business funding in general, right? From start to finish, from start to bottom. And if you haven't seen it, I highly encourage, I'll leave a link in the description. Go ahead and check those cards at the top of the video here. But the last two videos, we talked about setting up your credit profile, positioning your business for funding. And now in this video, we're talking about application and execution. And so we're going to talk about how to convert a great profile into actual approvals by sequencing applications the right way. We're going to use three different banks as an example: Truist, Chase, and American Express, and how to prep for each one, and how to stack cards in rounds, align with bureaus, bureau pools, and then manage your inquiries. And so this is something that you can, if you do correctly, you can repeat it up to 3 or 4 times a year. So every couple months. And so we're excited to kind of bring this to you and walk you through this process, doing this playbook right here. So the 4 foundations we talked about before is credit readiness, aiming for your credit to be at 720, have a score of 720. I'll even put that at 750 with Chase, and no negatives. And make sure you want to have low utilization. I would say above 700 for all major ones, but 720 and above, I think, is a pretty good range. The higher, the better, obviously. You want to make sure that your revolving line of credit, all the credit you have available to you, is 15,000 or more on your primaries. We're not talking about authorized user trade lines. Banks can see and tell that that is a trade line. So the sweet spot is between having 30,000 to 80,000 in available credit. So if you add up all the limits on your credit cards, if they're between 30 and 80,000, you're good. If not, you need to raise your credit limits or get some cards with bigger limits. That will help you a ton, because banks are going to offer you your business line credit or your business credit based on what you have here as revolving limits. Also, we went over having your EIN, making sure you have a professional address, phone number, a low risk NAICS code, like consulting, for example, 541611. NAICS code stands for North American Industry Classification System. And then obviously the last video we talked about was positioning and relationship, opening the business checking first, deposit 3 to 5K, and then wait 30 days before applying. Some banks, they're changing. You don't need to wait that long, but this is something that we just have a good rule of thumb: 30 days to season that account. So positioning and seasoning is important. So we're going to talk about these 3 banks. There's a lot of information on the screen, but hopefully this is helpful. And this is just high level. And also remember that some of these criteria can change. Like Truist, for example. So Truist it's always been a relationship bank, but it became even more of a relationship bank. And so obviously Truist, the footprint, it's regional. You're not going to have it available in every state, especially if you're in the West Coast. So you need to check your zip code and during your application. And also, if you don't have, your business is not in a state that has a Truist, then you might need to file a foreign entity, and then you can still get into Truist. They primarily pull from Equifax, and relationships are highly weighted. You have to have a business account, needs to be funded, needs to be seasoned before applied, which means you have to put money in it, let it sit. And I'm emphasizing 30 days or more, but you need to make sure that you have a relationship with them for at least 6 months if you want the maximum amount of approval. Doesn't matter how good your credit is. They are a huge relationship, to the point where now they're not even giving big approvals if you haven't been with them for more than 3 months at least. So they have 0% cards, which is really good. You apply for one and right after the other. And obviously they prefer low risk industries like most banks. So Truist, very relationship. Chase, rules and data. They pull from Experian, but if you're on the East Coast, sometimes they'll double pull with TransUnion as well. It's really important to have a 720 or 750 and above. No negatives. You want less than 3 inquiries in the last 6 months before applying. Less than 90 days for sure, but 3 inquiries in the last 6 months was really ideal. And obviously, you want to make sure that you avoid the 524 rule, which means you can't have applied for or gained more than 5 cards in the last 24 months. Or Chase will automatically deny you, because that's their rule for being overexposed. So Having a business checking account helps. You need to have a business checking account with them, and you need to season that bad boy with as much money as possible. And also with Chase, you need to move money in and out. So that's really, really important when it comes to approvals within Chase. Big time. When it comes between approvals and Chase, big time. Okay, and also last but not least, American Express, being a part of the Amex fam or their ecosystem in history. They pull from Experian. If you already have if you're already an Amex customer, then the approvals, if you apply for their products, they'll automatically get a soft pull, which is great. So the goal is just to get anything with them first, a personal card, and then you can set yourself up to see what you qualify for the big cards. Um, and so you can do a sole prop with EIN is acceptable for business applications, but I highly recommend just keeping your LLC full business profile just to be safe. But Amex, the big play here is getting in the ecosystem, having an Amex product, and building a relationship with them. That'll take you pretty far. So, credit card stacking, what does this really mean? Applying to multiple banks within 30 days, right? You reuse inquiry windows before the reports update. You spread the approval risk, and you aggregate multiple 0% limits in a usable funding stack, which means you just pile them together. So, the order matters. You want to start with the bureau where your score is the highest, and then target the largest banks and that pull that bureau. That's what we all do with credit stacking. This is what we do with our clients. And then obviously the bank rules shape the order. For example, Chase, they have the 524 rule. So we're going to start with that bank first. With Truist, we might go to them last because the longer you season your account with them, the better. And then with Amex, we're going to make sure that you get at least try to get a product in there or connect some bank statements because that will have you looking a lot better. So there's so many different things that we'll do, principles when it comes to putting together your strategy for stacking. So, but this is pretty much it. Identify the strongest bureau, list the banks that pull from it. So Chase, Amex, Experian, Truist, is Equifax, etc. Check the gates, making sure that whoever the the key disqualifier for that bank, we keep that in mind when we're putting together our stacking plan. And then as far as sequence, you start with the biggest banks and the best bureau, then the second best bureau, and then the regional banks and so on and so forth. Why we do that? The biggest banks have the biggest money, the most money. And with hard inquiries, even though we're going to remove them, you want to get, if you're going to gamble and go for them, you want hard inquiries, you want it to be worth it. So that's why we go for the biggest bank. So that right there is important. And so a part of that sequencing framework, like I mentioned, we lay the relationship runway, season those accounts 30 to 90 days, open up those business accounts, deposit 3 to 5,000 on the low end, transact, move some money in and out, then wait 30 days, be patient at the least. Also, the next step after that is choosing your round type, right? We're going to go every 3-4 months, depending on what bank are you going to hit during what round. And if you combined those limits that you get approved for, you can get up to $75,000 to $100,000, 0% interest, which is really cool. And then obviously you want to keep less than 3 inquiries. So you want to, after you apply for them, special business cards, you can delete those inquiries and still hold the card open. So that's what we recommend. Also, you want to set the order for the round. Like I just mentioned in the last slide, we kind of talked about it. Start with the highest scoring bureau and the major bank that pull. And then you want to compress the execution. You want to submit either within the same 30-day window, so accounts, so they all hit at the same time, and reuse inquiries when you can, where it's possible. And then also, if needed to, if your account gets flagged or something, reconsideration. If you're in pending, you can call and confirm. Call the reconsideration line and confirm and verify. We've done this with Amex a couple times, and so it's completely ordinary and normal. And we even walk our clients through on what to say in that capacity. So that's the sequence, and you can do this 3 times a year, so every 4 months, or 4 times a year every 3 months, depending on your goals and how much funding you need and when you need it. Between the rounds, so after you go for a bunch of funding and you stop and you set up again, you want to keep your utilization low on anything that reports to your personal, right? Like you still have to keep tabs and make sure you're monitoring your credit. You want to make sure you're stacking the 0% terms and promotions strategically. That's the most attractive things about these products. and you want to make sure you're maintaining great payment history, healthy checking activity to deepen those relationships. And so, I even put like a sample 12-month arc here. You can pause it and take a look at it. But these are just giving you examples of how to do it. These are things that when clients sign on with us to get 0% interest funding, we build out for them, because this can be tricky, because you do have to remember and keep track of the different disqualifiers and all the things that play a major part when it comes to funding. So what each bank looks for, we talked about this in previous videos, but we're just going over again. These are non-negotiables. You need to have a 700 plus credit score minimum. Chase 720, right? The bigger the bank, the more picky they are, the better you need to show up. No negatives. Keep your inquiries low. Keep your revolving credit limit high, at least below 80,000 though, but above 30,000, and making sure your NAICS code is making sure it's healthy. And if you need to make a new LLC, you might need to make a new LLC, right? That's what's super important. And so when you're in the application process, here's some things. This is where a lot of people get messed up, because they don't know how to fill out this application part. Now, I'll give you as much as I can. Some of our actual data points, we leave them for our actual clients, but this just gives you an idea of what to expect. When you get inside the application, they're going to ask you what your role in your title is. You can put like a president, for example. They're going to ask you how many employees you have. They're going to ask you about your annual revenue. This is projected income. So you want to be optimistic, right? You want to go high, but you don't want to go too high, because then they're going to want documentation to prove it. They're going to ask for your monthly spend. You don't want to put nothing, because then they don't. Why do you need more money if you're not spending anything? But if you put too much, they might think you're over leveraged. So these data points are really important. That will determine whether you get approved and how much you get approved for. And then your business address, just make sure it's professional, and your NAICS code, just make sure it's low risk. And to your common mistakes that people make, right? They rush their application right after opening the account. They open the account, they try to apply same day or next day. You're killing it. Just wait. You put your high risk industry. You could be in trucking, you could be in Airbnb, you could be in real estate, but don't put down the application. Like, set up a different LLC for funding, and then use that within the other business. And so when people put that there, they're automatically going to deny you. Some people, they have thin personal profiles. They have 1 or 2 personal cards, a bunch of authorizers or trade lines, and they think that Chase is going to give them a lot of money. They're not. Their profile's too little, too thin. So that's something else that, like, when people go apply and they don't get good approvals, it's because they didn't beef this up. Also, high utilization. Sometimes the utilization is above 30% when they go to apply. You want to make sure that is low. You want to make sure that is extremely low. Below 20% is ideal. If you go and apply above 30, 40, you're getting denied. And then also the mistakes that people make is not knowing those rules for each of those major banks, like Chase's 524 and things like that. Huge mistake. And so this is just kind of a repeat. You can stop and you can screenshot, but this is a good checklist for you to have. And I would really encourage you to just kind of pause and screenshot this. This is something that you need to keep in mind if you are trying to learn how to do this yourself. Our clients that sign up with us don't have to do this. It's something that we bring to them. It's a service that we provide when we help business owners get funding. But if you're learning how to do this yourself, I would highly suggest starting with this and continue to do your homework and digging in these areas. But this should get your profile in a really good spot. If you're not able to check all these things off, you're probably not ready for funding. We can't even work with you anyway. So this is what I highly recommend, even before reaching out to us, that everything looks good here. But we'll help you if you just need some consultation and you're on your way. So if you want a done with you stacking plan, you sequence to your scores, bureaus, where you're at geographically, this is what my wife and I build for clients. We map the banks, the timing, the inquiry strategy, so you can execute cleanly. If you're interested and this is what you're looking for, don't wait. Click the link below in our description. Book a call with us to get started, or shoot us an email if you're like, I know I'm not in position, but I want to get put in position. We have all the videos we have on our channel should be extremely helpful for you in your journey. But at the same time, we're more than willing and excited to work with business owners to help them get funded so that they can grow and scale their businesses. That is what we're passionate about. And so we appreciate you tuning in and paying attention to the series. And we hope this helps a lot of business owners in the future. So take care. We appreciate you tuning in, and we'll see you in the next one. If you're interested in some videos about Chase or Amex, I recommend watching the next videos up right here. Take care.